Hey there, before we launch into the podcast, I wanted to let you know that Ear Coffee is celebrating our 7th birthday this year. And like last year, we're back at the Cedar Cultural Center with 4 really cool bands to do so. This year, we're going to have Bugsy, Kate Malanafi, Malamiko, and Melon Herpes. They're joining us to throw a cool night of music to celebrate all things Ear Coffee and what DIY has been for us. Proceeds from tickets are going to the Autonomous Yurt Union as well as the Gertrude Brown Community Land Trust. Tickets are on sale now. They're $18 advance, $23 day of show. You can buy them through the Cedar Cultural Center's website. That is thecedar.org. You'll be hearing so much more about this as we get closer to it. It's crazy to think that we'll have 7 years of Ear Coffee this fall. So again, that's September 6th at the Cedar Cultural Center with Bugsy, Kate Malanafi, Malamiko, and Melon Herpes. And of course, my name is Joe Keyport, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. For this week's episode, I talked to all 3 members of Charlie Doesn't Surf. We had the band on back in 2019 when we talked about their self-titled debut record, and now the band is back after a few years off with their new album, Utah. Now, if you listened to the first one and you loved that kind of irreverent, fun, party, kind of punky sound, it's all there in Utah. They're taken themselves a little less seriously and just having a little more fun with it, and you can hear it on every track of that album. Need I say more? Let's get right into it with Joshua, John, and Wyatt of Charlie Doesn't Surf. And they're right here on the Ear Coffee Podcast. How's it going?
It's going good, brother. How are you?
Doing well. It's been, Josh, when I say like 5 years since we last had you in. We had you in person. We would have had you in person the second time, but my basement keeps flooding, and I don't think anyone wants to sit on moldy carpet at this point.
I'm not afraid.
So let's start off. I like to ask every band, what is your like one line for describing Charlie Doesn't Surf to people, whether it's like a family member or a coworker? They're like, oh, you're in a band, you play music. What kind of music do you play? What's that answer you give them?
I would say what I've been saying recently is melodic punk.
Okay.
I mean, I know we're, especially with this record, starting to branch out and do, some more country elements, some more kind of like, dare I say, psych rock elements. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like we like being a punk band, and we pride ourselves on being somewhat competent in, jazz chords and other things like that. So we like to pull fancy stuff out of our back pocket every once in a while, but we're a bar chord screamy kind of band. So I just been saying melodic punk because it's easy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but
I almost think live Charlie Doesn't Surf and studio Charlie Doesn't Surf are almost 2 completely different bands.
Okay.
We are dramatically louder, scrappier, faster, noisier live than you will ever hear on a record.
That's true.
So I would agree with that.
Yeah. I would say live we come off more as like just a rambunctious, goofy rock band. It's kind of the vibes that I get.
It's definitely
very silly.
Dudes rock live is definitely what we're doing.
We're dude rock.
Like we sound like we should have toured with Waves in 2012 or something.
I wish.
Yeah. Like that, if we were a band 5 years sooner, this would have been a very different experience. Like if 10 years ago we were making the music we made now, we would have been huge.
Oh yeah.
And everything's just so oversaturated now. Like even really good bands, it's just hard to compete with. So just the volume of what's going on, and it's a cool problem because there's so much good stuff.
Yeah.
But it definitely seems like, we were definitely born in the wrong time to be a guitar rock band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude,
you go, John.
I have like a long thing here. I actually am starting to develop like a conspiracy theory idea that like you can't really like make it as a small indie band anymore. Like you can in like a sense where you could get big enough to maybe like support yourself and just kind of make it a lifestyle. But that like pipeline to be able to go from like a local band, be really fucking awesome. Wait, can we swear?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no FCC guidelines for podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So be really awesome, and then like shoot all the way up into being like, you know, international or like a national level band. Like basically you can only get there right now, I feel, through nepotism or through like either already being born into a family with connections, or money into that, or like, and I feel like smaller bands are purposely being kept out of that because it's kind of this idea, like I believe, of just like keeping all the money in the same pockets, because like in that top circle everybody would know each other, and you know, why would you want to let someone new in and have a piece of that pie? But that's just my like totally conspiracy theory tinfoil hat thing, because like
it did not take us long to get to conspiracy theories.
Well, I partially agree with that because, there's just so little money in touring and recording original music nowadays, especially guitar-based rock music. But I think that goes for any genre. But with the digitalization of the landscape, like with legal streaming and whatnot, it's not necessarily that difficult for people to get attention or buzz, especially if you're willing to be craven and cynical about it. You know, game the algorithm, but translating that buzz, translating those eyeballs, those clicks to sustainable income is a very difficult thing. Because you know, when you look at the economics of touring or album sales, you know, unless you're an A-lister, you're not making money. Or if you are, you're making just enough to live off of it. And then the second your band breaks up or you call it a day, you gotta go get a job at the office or something. Like no mid-level First Ave touring band is gonna retire when they're done being a cool indie band. The guys in Grizzly Bear are not gonna go back to their mansions when they're done being Grizzly Bear.
Yeah. Well, it's even the local acts who seem to be able to like continually tour over the last like few years since music's come back. I feel like either they're on the road all the time in creating, or they're basically having to focus on other ways to stay alive. It's not you can, all right, I have, you know, I was on the road for 6 months. I have like 2 months where I can chill, maybe write something. And then I can go back out. I have to either keep doing this until I fail physically or, you know.
Yeah.
Right. Dude, something I've heard too that's like making it harder and like oversaturating it is, again, these are rumors. I haven't like seen it myself because I don't know how to prove it myself. But I've heard that like specifically on Spotify, people are making just like bunches of AI generated songs and just throwing it out there in that like, so that the Spotify algorithm will eventually just like line that AI generated song up in someone's like radio, or just it gets on a playlist and they just generate views and clicks that way. That could otherwise be just a legitimate song made by legitimate people. Yeah, and it's, you know, twisting the algorithm and twisting like what would be people discovering new music to just, you know, people who aren't paying attention end up just diving down this hole of a bunch of AI generated music that doesn't really have like the same originality and like creativity behind it that music an actual person would make.
Yeah, or
the problem, not the sole problem, but we as musicians and kind of art nerds tend to forget how normal people consume art and how normal people approach pop music. They don't care about new art. They don't care about local artists. They don't care about pushing the medium. They just, and I'm being cynical here, but they just want a good beat and you can dance to it and a nice hook. And if you're doing that, they really don't give a rat's ass how it's produced or how it's created or how it got in front of their feeds or how it is on the radio or whatever. They don't. The overwhelming majority of people simply don't care.
I got into
the tech overlords are willing to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I got into an argument with my old boss when I programmed a radio station for a while, where I was trying to put more indie and local country acts out. And my boss was like, no one gives a shit that they're local. No one gives a shit that they're indie. These songs are cool, but no one cares. They're not going to listen to this. You need to put, make sure there's lots of the classics, which I love, classic country 70s, 60s, 70s, and, 90s and aughts and even some modern stuff. But no one's listening to our station because they want to discover new music, which it was a very long argument. And I still think he's wrong to this day. And he was kind of changed a little bit the more people responded, but still it's like you said, they're in their habits a lot of the time. And it's not always this desire for new artistry.
Yeah, most people just want to be validated in what they already think and feel the familiar good feelings they already know. And I don't even think that's a character judgment. I sound like it is. I don't think you're a bad person for not caring about the bleeding edge and underground street rock. But yeah, I think we as musicians sometimes forget how normal people think about what we do.
No, totally.
For better or worse. And I'm going to stop rambling because this is getting too negative.
No, you're good. Well, yeah, we're, as much as I'd love to continue to discuss the trends of the average consumer, we're here to talk about your new EP that's coming out in June. So first, outside of the EP that you had released during the pandemic and then the live album that you had released, what's been going on with Charlie Doesn't Surf since we talked in 2019? What have you guys been up to? Obviously, we had this huge upending. Probably a lot of people had a lot of changes and transitions in their lives, but kind of what's been the band looking like, between then and now?
Well, this EP was really kind of us going like through the entire pandemic, barely getting together and barely playing. And, finally it got to a point, I don't know, it was probably mid 2023 where I told the guys, like, we gotta just do something, otherwise we're just going to fall out of it and we're never going to play again, which is not what any of us want. So this was kind of like we need to focus. And I would say at the beginning of the pandemic, we were discussing doing a full record, and we had, I don't know, like 15 songs that were started, and we wanted to do like a full length record, put it on wax and all the whole 9 yards. Mm-hmm. And then eventually it got to the point where we was like, let's narrow this down. Classic Story. Let's narrow it down to the best of what we have and commit to a date, book a studio time, and we just need to be ready by that date. And I think putting that fire under our asses really was a good thing for us, because I personally was very not myself during the pandemic. I lost my job in the music industry. I was very depressed working in construction. And I was like, I think it was just a conversation that we had where it was like, we need to set a goal for ourselves and we need to get back on the horse and we need to do something creative for our sanity. That was at least my side of it. Mm-hmm. John and Wyatt, I'm sure, have their own spin on where their heads were at the time.
No, dude, I was like you, man. I got kind of depressed because we were set up to do pretty good right before the pandemic hit. Because what was it? We had a show on the East Coast booked at a college in Boston or something. We had a show lined up at 7th Street. We had a bunch of shows and a bunch of plans to go tour, go do shows, and we were in the groove, we were in the zone. We were going up, I don't know. It felt like we were gaining momentum.
We were on an upswing for sure.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go so far as to say, we were about to make it, man. But there was definitely some organic buzz starting up. Playing the Fillmore, playing some good shows, playing 7th Street. Yeah, we did get hired to go down to Missouri fall of 2019. And we had other colleges, spring of 2020, Luther, some place out in Boston that were asking us to come out. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these songs, at least I think 2 or 3 of them, I think we've had since spring of 2020 because we were working really hard that summer of 2020 getting together because we didn't have anything else to do. And then life just kind of got in the way after that.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And there are, like Josh was saying, there is another EP's worth of stuff in various stages of doneness that I think is pretty good, but is definitely a very different vibe than what you're going to hear on Utah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So talk to me about writing Utah. You said, you had 15-ish tracks that you had in some states of work in progress, and you set that timeline. You're like, all right, we're going to be in the studio to work, so we have to be ready to go from there. What was the process for picking out, the 7, 8-ish songs? I think it was 7 on this EP and finishing them up. Was it a pretty quick process for y'all, or was it, we are like, all right, we got to get back together, we got to get our groove as a band?
Yeah, I think once we set that goal for ourselves, it all went very quickly, because I want to say we started like really hitting our nose to the grindstone in like summer of 23, and then we recorded in October. Yeah, so I know like we set dates for ourselves. I think we were trying to rehearse like once a week or once every other week or something, which back before the pandemic, we were a 2-night-a-week rehearsal band. And I think life has just changed for all of us since then, especially like getting out of the pandemic. I started like working in management in venues, which has taken up so much of my time. So it was important that we worked quick and picked the songs and really just grinded it out. And I think like Wyatt said, like 2 of those songs have been ready for, 3 years up at that point. We just needed to fine tune them and, make sure the structure was what we wanted and all that. So I would say like once we go ahead, Wyatt.
There were demos of what became needed, and I think Outside Everywhere have existed pretty much in their completed form since like fall of 2019. And Needed came together really quick.
Yeah, Needed was one of those, like I think the demo was exactly what it turned out to be on the EP. Nothing has changed on that one.
The only thing that changed is I wrote a different bass line. That's it. It was pretty much done.
Gotcha. And so talk to me about kind of what was, listening through this EP. It is a very, I almost feel like it's one of the first releases, or it's a release that it feels like it knows what it is. Like you click play on Utah, and it's a different feeling than the self-titled, not in like a bad way, obviously, not that I felt like the self-titled was lacking anything, but it's an EP that like knows what the fuck it is, and it takes you from a ride from like beat 1. And so talk to me about kind of what you were putting into it, and like what some of these songs were about, and what is this kind of narrative that this EP takes you on.
Yeah, I would agree that it's definitely the most focused piece of work we've ever done. And part of that was, we made a conscious decision that while we were still very a collaborative band, we wanted it all to be, one songwriter essentially, so that it could kind of follow that, I would not that it's a bad thing by any means, but there was 3 songwriters on the self-titled, which I think is why it can take such different turns as you go through it. And this being that it was going to be a short EP, we wanted to just rock your fucking socks off, like from start to finish. And also made a conscious decision as a songwriter, me personally, that I wasn't going to necessarily like write from the heart for every track. Like we've got Utah, for example, not based on anything personal, just a fun story about aliens and Skinwalker Ranch. And then, 89.3 is a fake diss track against the current, which is the song actually has nothing to do with that, but we thought the title was hilarious. So it's like, send it. And then, what is it? Steel Magnolias is just a total joke song that we wrote after watching the movie, and like, wouldn't this be funny? And we're very much out of I don't think we've ever taken ourselves super seriously, but now we're not taking ourselves seriously at all. We take the art form seriously, but we don't take ourselves or what we're doing in this sphere, in this community seriously at all. Like, we want to have fun, and I wanted that to translate in the EP.
Yeah. And I think it does. Is that part of that, kind of that change from into working on this project from previous CDS releases? It was more of a, we have to get this out. We want to do something that's fun. It's feels almost like less pressure while maintaining that same level of like artistic excellence you strive for.
Definitely. I would say that nails it. Yeah. We still want the product to be good, but we don't want to get tied up in like, what is the message or what is our place and, any of that stuff. It's just, let's put out something that rocks, that people can have fun listening to. And if they, take a different meaning out of it, then that's great. That's what I love about doing this, is that means something to me that means totally something different to somebody who listens. I try to write songs intentionally that are like that.
Yeah. And Wyatt or John or both, how did this kind of shift in work as a band? Kind of, how did you feel and how did you come at working on these 7 songs, differently? Or did you feel like you came at it differently with this kind of reformed and refocused version of the band?
I'd say it's more of a John question, because I joined the band right after Self-Titled came out. So this is the first new composition stuff I'm working on with them. So John, what do you think?
I don't know if I really changed how I approached it. I guess I didn't, maybe I'm dumb, but I didn't really think about it that hard. For me, everything on like how I approached it was just like, if I like, while we were learning the song, while we were rehearsing it and I was figuring out drum parts, if I would like hear something in my head, I'd play it. And then Josh would usually either be like, I don't like that. Or he'd be like, I like that. And then I would just kind of keep changing from there. Like, sometimes he would tell me like the vibe he's going for. And then I'd be like, oh, I'll try and do that. But like, I personally, I don't really think I thought too hard about it. I think I was just feeling it out the whole way. And anytime I got feedback, I tried to like work that into whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar, I guess, because Josh isn't a dictator. Like, yes, he writes the songs. He says, like, here's the chords, here's the lyrics. This is kind of the tempo, the vibe, what we're going for. But he let John and I kind of do our own thing in our arrangements. And I think there's only been 1 or 2 times where Josh said, no, don't do that. And it was something really, really tiny, like play this as 8th notes instead of 16th notes or something. This 2-beat little fill I did. So
yeah, I think it was like the vibe he told us that I remember for like Utah is, he's like, I want this one to be weird. I want it to feel like it starts country and then it goes like really weird, like you're up in a spaceship, and then it just gets wild and like takes over your head. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I can do that. Yeah.
So yeah, I songwriting and playing are just such wildly different skills. And I have the latter. I'm a great musician, but I'm not a great songwriter. So I'm entirely okay with somebody getting me 85% of the way there and then just letting me fill in where my expertise lies.
Yeah. No, totally. I wanted to ask a little bit more about which is the first single off the EP, which is your kind of faux diss track against the current. And it kind of plays into this like irreverence that Charlie Doesn't Serve has that I love. I think about the Lynn Lake Punk music video where you burn a copy of City Pages right off the top. It's kind of this kind of poking fun at our local media institutions. Why was this one the first single you decided to pick from of, whether it's the title track or even some of the B-side songs, whether it's, Out Everywhere, Texas or Terrified? What about that song was the one that you had to go, this is the one that we're going to show off for this new kind of reinvention or reintroduction for the band?
Well, initially I was thinking that I wanted to do Utah as the single. And I don't know. I got some feedback from Tinderbox, who we did our promotion with.
Yeah.
Because I showed them that track when we started like getting ready for the radio campaign. And I was like, this is what this is the track of the name of the album. It's what we named the album off of, Utah. And this is what I think the single should be. And they listened to it and they were like, A, we love it. B, probably a little too out there to be the single, especially for like pushing it to radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I never really thought about it because I thought it's a banger and it's the art that I like. I didn't really think about it until, I thought it was a good note on their part. I was like, oh yeah, I guess it is pretty fucking weird. Like starts out country and then like takes a hard left turn to whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I know. But, and then I just got me thinking like, okay, what is like the most approachable next thing?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought like 89.3 The Current just has like such a strong opening to it. Like I think John's drum part at the beginning and then the guitar feedback, we're literally like punching guitars in the studio to get that noise.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's just and I think an attention grabbing like first few seconds of a song, which is what I wanted. I wanted someone to hear it and just be like, because I know how easily I skip tracks when I'm listening to music, which I need to get better about. So I was like, what is the least skippable like first 5 seconds of a song on this EP? And that's what I thought. And also I thought it'd be funny to tease the album dissing The Current. I thought that'd be very funny. And I was hoping that they would have a good sense of humor about it. And so far, I don't think they have.
Oh, really? Like, have you gotten? My next question was going to be: have you heard back from anyone over there about it, or
radio silence? Quite literally. And
I think they're too Hollywood for us.
We've had Tinderbox directly reach out to them, like, "Hey, here's the Rascals are back. We're picking fun of you this time. It's all in good fun." And we haven't got any traction there. So, which is very funny to me. Like no matter what happens, it's all funny to me, so it's no skin off our nose. We've been around for so long with so little love. It's like, okay, we're just the outcast, I guess.
Yeah. It's like at this point, we're too old to care if any cool people like us or not.
Definitely.
We're just going to do what we're going to do. And if you want to come party with us, that's great. We're happy to have you. But if not, bite me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it is.
I was a success without your attention, and I'll continue to be one without it. So whatever. Yeah.
No, it's definitely one that would have either been like the perfect kind of bit where you could be like, they said we wouldn't play it and here it is, or it's they said we wouldn't play it and you're like, you're right, and they play something different of yours. Yeah. Like that would have been like a good bit.
Yeah. And it's all in good fun. And if they ever did reach out to us, I'd be like, still be a little rascal about it, but just like with City Pages, like with the whole City Pages beef was so funny because they got it and they thought it was hilarious, like from the jump.
They went along with it.
They embraced it wholeheartedly and wrote a whole article about it. That's kind of how I found out about you a little bit, and watched the video.
Yeah, but I still think, it doesn't fit with the video Will made us for 89.3, but I still think it would have been hilarious to open that video with someone peeing on a Current sticker or something.
Yeah, we are thinking about doing merch with like Calvin peeing on the Current logo. I think that'd be sick on a shirt. And like if we get a cease and desist, even better. We would print that email and put it on a shirt. That'd be awesome.
We do like what Zach Baker did with Dairy Queen.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
We just dare people to sue us.
So talk to me about the recording process over at Flowers. Was this, were you going into the studio feeling pretty ready to go after you'd booked your time and worked out your songs, or were you still kind of building and refining in Flowers with Chris?
I think there is a bit of nervous energy just because it's money is on the line.
Yeah.
It's not like doing it at home, which is part of why I wanted to do it in a studio, is I like that pressure. You know what I mean? I think I get better performances that way. But I would say we were ready to go. I think there was still a couple things, maybe like not even arrangement wise. It was a couple things like, tonally and, other instrumentation that we only have access to there. I know we wanted to use like the Mellotron and things like that. But I would say we were very dialed in when we went and did that. I mean, we did it all in a day and a half.
Oh, wow.
We did a full day where it was all three of us and we did all the basics. And that one did get a little stressed for time. Like we got to the very end of the 8 hours and we were like putting the final touches on things. And then we did a half day where I believe it was just me doing overdubs. And then I did all the vocals and background vocals and like just some keyboard stuff from home. But very dialed in. Loved working with KJ. I love working at Flowers personally. I mean, I have a connection there. Like I started interning for Ed years ago. And he kind of took me under his wing, which was cool because I found out after he passed away that like he didn't really like doing that. He didn't like having people in on his process. So after the fact, I felt very honored. Like I didn't realize how cool it was until it was gone. You know what I mean? Chris is definitely not, doesn't have the same kind of workflow that Ed does necessarily, but I really enjoy working with him and I enjoy his insights, and he's just a fucking wizard, man. Like he's so good. He's got a great ear, and I think he did a fantastic job.
Nice. What about John or Wyatt? What was it like for y'all in the studio and kind of working this together? Where did you feel under the gun a little bit to turn it all out with that day and a half, or was kind of the studio where y'all flourish?
I personally, I wasn't worried at all. Well, only thing I was worried about is how early I had to get up because I'm a lazy bum ass musician. I think we wanted to be into the studio at like 8 or 9 in the morning. And for me, I was just like fucking, I got in there. I was groggy. And
it was 10 in the morning.
Okay, fine. 10.
Get a
Still,
job.
I have a job. I just only work later in the day. Anyway, I remember getting in there and being like so tired and groggy. And we agreed like, all right, guys, let's get the hardest one out of the way. So that way we'll be like, we won't have to be tired at the end of the day and we won't have to do our hardest song while we're tired. Well, I instead was going in there like groggy as hell trying to play Needed. And like, I felt like I had to do so many takes, like, because I just
which means that we all had to do so many takes because we do it live.
Yeah.
Because I was just like,
easy for us. It's only hard for John.
Because I was just like, I'm not keeping it straight. I'm not keeping it even. I'm messing up here, there, and the other thing. I was like, after, like in hindsight, a day later, I was like, fuck, that was a bad idea. We should have done that one like after I was awake.
Should have stretched, dude.
Yeah.
What about Needed was difficult for y'all, or you feel it was a difficult song?
Like for me specifically, the song's just like fast. It's like constant 16th notes on the hi-hat, just and it's constantly moving. Like the song has this very like forward driving like force to it. And it's a song where if I want it to sound good on my end, I have to pay really strong attention to where the beat is, because it's not a song where I can sit in front of the beat or behind it. I have to sit like right on top of it. I have to keep it even. And because if I don't, like the rhythm of both the guitars, like what bass and guitar are doing, it's not that driving. Like it doesn't really push the song forward. I'm like, for most of the song, I am like the only consistent fast rhythm, like keeping forward motion going. And like, I guess that's a good amount of pressure. And I wasn't doing it to my satisfaction. Like the first 4 times or however many times we went over Needed. I know we spent like almost all, like it was like 2 or 3 hours on Needed or something. And then we just blitzed through the rest of the tracks. And
I don't know if it was that long, but it definitely took a long time. It was like the longest we've ever done one track. Because most of the time, like our first or second take is the one.
Gotcha.
But that one, yeah, I would agree, John, that is definitely the hard. Like you're working hard on that one. It's hard for me too. Just there's such weird chord shapes that happen so fast. That one, my fretting hand gets very tired doing that song.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't feel really pressure at all in the studio because it's kind of the way we record with it being live. If you're prepared, if you know the songs, if you rehearse together, if you listen to the people you're playing with, and you're a halfway competent musician, that's 90% of it right there. If you do your homework, it's going to pay off on the exam.
100%. Yeah. Well, just a few more questions here. So what's kind of like now that the EP's on we're on the verge as of recording this of the EP being out in the world and people listening to it. What's kind of your hope people are taking away from it when they first, hit play on the Utah EP and listen to the new work?
I just want it to be the summer bangers, I want people to have fun with it. I want people to, just get reinvigorated on us. We've been laying very low because we want this album release to be a party and we want it to be well attended, obviously. So, at the end of the day, I just want people to like it. And if they don't, whatever, like Wyatt said, we're too old to give a shit. We're going to keep doing what we want to do. And, the thought is we really, really like doing this and we have a lot of fun being together and playing these songs. I'm speaking for them because it's gotta be true. But we like doing this. And I think it took me a while to learn that if people see you up there having fun, that translates and people want to see that. People don't want to necessarily go see a band or some people do. I don't want to go see a band that's super serious, putting on a facade. I want to go see someone have fun, even if you're hitting a bum note every once in a while.
Yeah.
If you're up there and you're having a good time and you're doing what you like doing, that's infectious. And I just want to do that again. I want to put that out in the world because that's kind of like my therapy. That I always feel the best after playing music with my friends and, especially doing it live. I just want it to be a party. I want people to have fun with it.
Yeah, that's how I feel too, man. Like it's just, I've had to practice actually. Like when I first started drumming, like I guess playing in bands and shit, like I don't even know how long, like 15 years ago, I used to be such a stone-faced drummer. Like I could play all the parts, but I would just like glaze over, face would not really show any emotion, wouldn't even rock back and forth. And like as I've been playing in this band, I've gotten more into the habit of just like expressing myself and like showing my emotions while I'm playing. And I think like it's fun to see the crowd also feel the same way and feel like that bounce back and forth of just playing a song and watch people like enjoy it and have fun to it kind of thing.
Yeah, you are very good at being an animated drummer, and that is a harder thing to do than people think.
Yeah.
It's been deliberate practice. I've actually sat down and thought about like, how do I not glaze over and look like I'm lost in my mind?
Well, and I've seen videos of myself too, where I thought on the gig, I was kind of, into it and being animated. And then I see the video back and it's like, I'm just standing there. So it's like, you got to go bigger than you think. So I try to just let myself be unhinged and see whatever happens. Whatever happens, happens.
Totally. And then finally, one of the last questions here is locally, regionally, who are some of your friends, bands you're loving right now that you want to make sure people know about? Usually this is when the Spotify's or the Apple Music's come out to do look through the playlist, but who's the local shout outs or the regional shout outs or even the national shout outs you want people to be aware of?
I think we'll have our chief marketing officer, Wyatt, take care of this one.
Yeah, as the CMO of Charlie Doesn't Surf Enterprises, LLC Incorporated, I'm the one who talks to people, apparently. Locally, I've been hanging out in the hardcore scene a lot lately.
Yeah.
And Out for Blood is doing some really cool shit.
Yep.
They're good dudes. Kyle's a good dude. Valeska Surratt also really impresses me quite a bit. They're kind of that old 90s screamo style. Grant is an incredible guitarist. He's doing straight chicken picking in screamo stuff, and it's
interesting.
Really, they are excellent musicians, great dudes. I'm trying to think. Yeah, John,
I want to give a shout out to the Orange Goodness because I love them. Please let us play with you. I've seen them at some shows and I've talked to them a little bit, but they don't know me that well. But I know you. Please invite me to play with you.
Ian, I promise, fanboy too much over Ian Allison if that ever happens. I think who else? Citric Dummies are super fun.
They rock.
Drew Isles is just kind of who I aspire to be. Like Drew Isles and Citric Dummies are the OG rascals of Minneapolis rock. And I love them.
Aly and I went and saw them open for Cloud Nothings in like 2016, something like that. And their drummer sat on like a bar stool. I just saw like a wooden stool just get plopped behind the kid. I was like, oh, this is going to be an experience.
Yeah. And they're a goofy band. I saw him at Disgraceland, and Drew asked, "Does anyone here know what a CRM is?" And because I'm a sellout dork who works in software, I raised my hand. So he just spent between the half the songs during that set just roasting me for being a and then came up to me after the show. It's like, I'm sorry if that was me, and I was just having fun. It's like, Drew, yeah, I love them. Local, and there's tons of other local bands I love too. But
yeah, I'll give a few. Definitely want to shout out Zach Baker and his team of various rascals. Love those guys. Love Saint Rangers, new Americana band that's popping up.
Okay.
My good friend Garrett's in that. And I'm assuming this is not going to air tomorrow.
No.
So I will give a shout out now to our support for the show isn't announcing till tomorrow. So since that's moot, Cold Casuals, shout out to them. They're going to be direct support for the EP show at the Uptown, and the Denim Boys are going to be opening that show. So shouts out to those two bands, and thank you for playing with our dumbasses.
Awesome.
I do think it's funny that we've kept the Rascal bit up, but we've actually gotten better and better live the less we've been playing.
Yeah, we're so much less drunk and high now than we ever were. You know, that was kind of our MO. Yeah, we actually pre-pandemic, we were just, if you saw us on stage, we had already had like 5 or 7 beers. So
impressive.
We are not that way anymore, and I think we're better for it.
I think we're the only band that ever got banned from the High Watt House, or we were certainly the first.
Yeah, we were definitely the first, because I think that was the inaugural show at that place. So
I wasn't in the band yet, but Aaron still has beef with us over that.
I think I've heard that story from them.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but yeah, that's funny. Well, where can people connect with y'all? Where can people find Charlie Doesn't Surf online? Where can they buy your music? All that?
We have a website, charliedoesn'tsurf.com. We have a Facebook as well, but I don't think any of us have access to it anymore. So it's like stuck in 20. Oh, Wyatt does. Okay, good. I don't have access to it.
Nobody interacts with it, so I rarely post anything, but occasionally I do.
Why? I would say we're most active on Instagram. Wyatt has delightful shit post on there every once in a while. Lots of pictures of beans for some reason. So we check that. the most.
Yeah,
I think we pretty much torched everything else. Like that's another reason why I think we're not putting up numbers, is because we don't know how to use any of this stuff, or just flat out refuse to.
Mhm.
Yeah. I refuse to get us on TikTok. Oh, I think didn't you made us a TikTok, but I refused to try and game that shit.
I had it and I deleted it probably within the same year. So it's Instagram, and you can get our music if you would like to purchase it. Purchasing it directly off of Bandcamp is definitely the best, most encouraged. It'll be on all streaming as well. If you come to the release show, we have 150 limited edition orange cassettes with really cool artwork and fold out panel and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So those are going to be gone when they're gone. Hopefully we'll sell it at the show. And those will be the only orange ones. If we ever do more prints, we'll do them in different colors. So,
yeah. And I would just, to add some specifics, the Instagram handle is Charlie Doesn't Surf, no apostrophe. Charlie Doesn't Surf 42069. We are that band.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a Twitter too, but I haven't done anything on it in a year. I think I just bullied someone I didn't like on it. Like some guy who's I don't even remember. I deleted X and whatever that shit is off my phone, so I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, so I guess if you want to get in touch with us, good luck.
Yeah, we're nice. We'll talk to you on Instagram. And specific for the show, that is going to be Saturday, June 15th at 7 p.m. at the Uptown Theater. So
hell yeah,
be there or be, I don't know,
have a life.
I don't know.
Be there or fuck off.
Support local tunes. Awesome. Well, Joshua, John, Wyatt, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with me. I'm excited to hopefully catch your show on the 15th and see you around.
Thank you so much for having us. We had a blast.
You have been listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and share so we can stand out against the sea of other music podcasts. You can find information from this podcast and other important links in the show notes of this episode. If you would like to support us, please consider subscribing on Patreon for early access to episodes, live sessions, and other bonus content. You can also subscribe to our Substack for a regular newsletter with reviews, ramblings, and other written content. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.